Jay, thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Congratulations on seeing your book come to life. Tell us a little bit about how that is for
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's really an amazing experience, man. I watched it for 30 years on the sidelines writing other books and stuff. But when I wrote the original book, I was thinking, I want to write a movie on paper. I want to write a prose movie. It actually was an experiment when I wrote it in 94 and 5. I wrote it over the course of 94 and 95. And in 95, this amazing producer, Andrew Lazar, optioned it. When this film was going into production, he called me and he goes, "You know how old I was when I optioned this from you? I was 27." And I'm like, wow, you know, our baby has grown up.
That's fantastic. And you know what's funny is I've never necessarily been an avid reader per se, but I started reading horror a lot, and then one of my favorite movies growing up, Heat, of course. I found out
Oh
that there
yeah,
was a
I'm with
sequel
you.
to it. And so
Yeah.
I read that, and it was that at that point I was like, "Oh, action does really work well in books." So
Right.
that's
Right.
where my starting point was with that. And now after seeing the movie, it made me think about what were probably some of Jay's ideas, maybe that were a little different, or just explained differently. Because I love the way my creativity works in my head sometimes, and that's what books do. They allow you to paint your own picture. So now I'm gonna go back and read your book just
Oh,
because
cool.
of that. Um, Tell me, with that sense, you've seen these characters in your head for so long now. What was it like to see a Dave Bautista, Sofia Boutella, a Ben Kingsley, take
Amazing.
take the mantles?
Amazing, man. I like, Terry Crews. He's playing this character named Creighton Lovedoll, which this is an exclusive. I don't think I've ever told anybody this. That was the name of my grandma's accountant, Clayton Lovedoll. I just thought it
Ah.
was a great name, and it did sound like a badass, assassin, contract killer. So yeah, I lived with the characters, but like I went to film school. I have made my own films. Um, I work in that space as well as novels. And I don't make a distinction. I see the storytelling basics as exactly the same. Some people think that's, you know, um, horrendous, and some literary people probably want to kill me for saying that, but I'm serious, man. It's just the hero's journey. It applies to both screen and page in the same ways. Like it's just, yeah, there's little differences that are more like mechanical, but with the Killer's Game, it became this. It grew and grew over the years, especially when people fell out and it didn't make it to the screen. It got close a couple times, you know, and but to see this configuration, this version is really the best version. I mean, I'm not just plugging this movie by saying that. I'm saying that as the original, creator of the source material, um, which is really just like planting a seed. If you're a novelist, unless you're working on the screenplay and you're part of the movie, you're really just hoping for the best, and you have no control over it. And it's like I'm still amazed at this stage in my career that Lionsgate's been so cool about me. They want, also the producers, they want me to be part of this and promote it and get behind it. And they didn't have to talk me into it. This is like such a trip, you
No,
know,
yeah,
especially tonight to watch it with the actors, with the cast and the crew is amazing.
that must be so cool. It's like you're sitting next to the
I
characters you
know.
you created in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly. Exactly. And
kind of a no.
Dave Bautista is he's just he's incredible, he just has acting chops that are, as though he was in, Stella Adler's, method acting class because he's so natural. And, I've started to work a lot with pro wrestlers, and it makes total sense to me too, because, I have a side of my career which is action oriented. I write action.
Hmm.
And, pro wrestlers are amazing performers and actors. They call the stuff they do in the ring a work. And that always, jibed with my vision of them. So now I'm working with several, on different projects, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You also have Drew McIntyre in the film as
Right.
well. So there's a couple of them. That's great.
Yeah,
What does it
Scott
mean?
Adkins, there's amazing physical actors. Palm, these people, I hate to keep saying this, but when I saw Palm fight Tom Cruise in that narrow passageway in Dead Reckoning,
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this chick? You
Yeah,
know,
no, and now they're all embodying your characters.
right,
And
right.
speaking of physical actors, you have a physical director who worked in
Yeah,
stunts in
JJ.
a
Yeah,
lot of films.
exactly.
What does that mean to you to be able to? Because obviously you have an action oriented movie. You want somebody with that
Yeah,
kind of background. What was that like working with him?
amazing. I mean, you mentioned Heat, and I agree 1,000% with you. Heat is this visionary action film. It's just, it's surreal almost the way he created those gunfights and car chases and this crew that pulled off these highline um, robberies. And having J.J. Perry, to me, it's like having, Coppola and Vittorio Storaro in the action space. That's how they express themselves, and that's their art. To me, it's a work of art. And also everybody who worked on the film thinks that JJ is the shizzle. They love him. They just think he just is the best. So he's going to be, he's going to have a long career, as a major film director, I think. But yeah, great question, actually. Yeah,
Well, yeah, yeah, it's been quite I feel like action stunt coordinators, stunt actors, and in general they necessarily haven't got too much their flowers per se. But I think lately,
right,
we had this year we had the Fall Guy, which was an homage really to
right,
stunt coordinators. Everything with the John Wick franchise and
yeah,
really allowing people to step up. But we need
exactly,
those stories like your story, to be able to give them
right.
that catalyst sometimes.
Yeah, and also, a lot of times, with films that are sort of or action oriented, but they have action scenes, they pull them off with a lot of CGI, um, and that when you watch a movie with these, actors and this director, uh, your brain senses it's real people doing that stuff. If they're really doing it, they're really, maybe they've got cables that have been erased, but they're really physically doing it, and that's what makes it even more involved, riveting and engrossing to me.
Yeah, that makes you allowed to stay into the film. I find myself sometimes when you put too much CGI in it, when you kind of see that character all of a sudden kind of float one way and you're like, wait, that's
Right,
not a real body. It
right,
takes, I know you can lose an audience really quickly that way.
right.
But
Yeah,
when you
that's well said. That's well said, because I have a theory that, in this AI era we live in, these brilliant, stunt people and stunt oriented directors and stunt coordinators, they're going to become, revered, because they're the only ones that can get actual people to do this stuff, and they don't need a green screen. you know so when do we put the green screen in, sir? We don't need one. These people are physical green screens. You will not need anything green. It's just
yeah,
going to be, red blood flying around.
Unless you're wearing a green shirt, which
Right.
whatever. Jay, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me.
My
Congratulations
pleasure, man.
on seeing your book come to
Thank
life
you so much.
in the visual format, because like I said, everyone can still picture these characters in their head, which is sometimes a little bit more fun too, in a different way.
Absolutely.
So thank you for your insight. I appreciate it.
Back at you. Thank you.